code, so C++ code or JavaScript code or any of the other environments that you could possibly develop a solution in cannot exist without the rest of the computer environment, the hardware and the software environment. And neither of those, hardware, software, can exist without the other. It's one of the things I really do think that the following should be said, that I believe I'm staring right now into a camera. That camera just so happens to be an iPad mini that's kind of obtrusively situated in front of my monitor. So I have to look over here. It doesn't look great on camera, but that's okay. So I am looking at an iPad mini, and the problem with modern computer hardware. So if you have a Dell laptop, if you have a Mac desktop computer, if you have an iPad, if you have an Android tablet, it really kind of doesn't matter the device that you have. Modern computing hardware and software almost completely and totally obscure from you the fact that they are working in concert behind the scenes on things. Our computers don't make noise anymore. Actually, I used to be able to demonstrate this by, having a computer load up a Windows operating system, and you would hear the tremendous amount of noise that is happening on the disk as that is going. And unfortunately, I don't have that computer anymore, and I can't demonstrate that for you. All of my machines, like very, very probably all of your machines, whether or not that is, an iPad, a desktop, a laptop, etc. All of our machines have solid state hard drives. They don't make any noise. They all have, displays that don't flicker. All of them have splash screens, for instance, that don't tell you anything about what's happening. As Windows loads up, you don't see squat anymore. You just see a little, there's no status bar. It just gives you, Windows OS. And the next thing you know, you're at your desktop. Everything is obscured from us now. Really, what we're looking at is a very, very robust interaction between the hardware and the software on a device. So, what are we really looking at? Hardware and software. I do want to mention right here, it's in 1.2 computer systems, hardware and software, is there's really only 4 things we can boil it down to what a computer system of any type can do. It's input, output, process, and store. And all of those are located in all of your devices. So on the iPad I'm looking at here, the input would be the screen, right? It's also the output, but output could be the screen and the speakers. The storage would be the meager 64 gigabytes of onboard SSD storage that's in there. I'm looking over here at my Windows laptop that has a 512 gigabyte hard drive. I'm looking over here also at a Mac Studio that has a really meager 512 gigabyte hard drive, but right next to it, there's a 12 terabyte storage drive. That's the storage component. The processing is the one that is the most completely obscure from us as just a user of computer hardware and just a user of computer software. But over the course of this course, you're going to see just what it is that happens during that processing on behalf of your computing device. So, main memory. I will just suggest to you that you're aware of what memory is. There's probably 3 gigabytes here in this iPad. There are 32 gigabytes here on the Mac Studio. There's 12 gigabytes in my laptop there. We talked about the otherwise the long-term storage, the hard drive space that's on there. Here it is page 3. I do want to mention this before we go on. Hopefully I will remember to make this true of all of these videos. If you look down right under me here in the lower right hand corner, you'll see the page number. I will try to remember to click on the pages as often as possible. Like I mentioned in a previous video, sometimes things happen between versions of the same it's not necessarily the same copy of the text, but it's the same edition of the text, and they will have slightly different page numbers. The thing that does not change is, like you see here, the section number. So this is still section 1.2, and that will be true for everybody who has the 9th edition of the text. However, when I click down here, you'll see in the lower right-hand corner, that's page number 3, that at this point is probably the same for everybody, but as we go on through other chapters, that may or may not be. But I will try to remember to have the page number visible there for you so that you can follow along there as well. What we are as consumers of our computing technology, what we are almost completely obscured from is the interaction here between the central processing units, whether or not those are like just the CPU. If we're talking about the GPU, the ALU, you'll see more of that when you read the chapter here. The main memory and our input and output devices, or even our storage devices. And what I'll tell you is, as a computer user here in C++, what we'll see is an actual interaction between the output, the input, the long-term storage, and the memory and the processing. So you will have a better understanding of how all of those things go together to actually make a program that actually interacts with computer hardware. So those things you can see here as you continue to process down through 1.2. You'll get a little bit more background as to what is in the CPU, some of the different processors, RAM, long-term storage, etc. All of those things are here. And now you would still view yourself with the user lens. But what I'll challenge you to do now, and what we will challenge you via the material, is to change that lens and start to think of yourself as a developer, because in short order, that's what we'll do.